What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host, Josh, and this is one of the episodes I was very looking forward to do. This is the JJD TV BBB report card episode. That is right. We're going to take a look at all the players who've played this season. Scratch that, not every single player, but the majority of the players that have played for Borussia Dortmund this season, and I'm going to put them in a ranking category like we would get in public school report card. The top of the line is going to be A+, A-, same for B, same for C, same for D, and after D- is going to go F, as in fail, and then it's going to be a not available section. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to put every single player, but for the majority of the players, I'm going to try to get into one of these categories and get it started. We're going to go in chronological order in the jersey numbers. So, guys, let's get right into it. Looking at number one, literally number one on the list. He wears number one. That is Roman Bürki. Had a tough time trying to place him this season because he's a keeper who in the past haven't always been crazy about. I love his personality. I love different aspects of what he brings to his game, including those wild card games he has where he's lights out. But when it comes to it, the consistency has always been an issue with him. We saw it this season. We saw him get dropped, but then we saw a real comeback story, and he was lights out for the remainder of the season. Won us the Pokal, got us in the top four. I mean, he got a lot of goodwill from these performances, so it made it very challenging to try to give him a good report card, because at the beginning, I mean, I had no problem getting him like a D+ to C-, but with what he's done and the good spirits he had coming back in from his spell in the wild, I'm going to give him a C+. C+ I think is fair. It was my average growing up as a student in public school. Bit of a wild card myself, so it's no problem, I think. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but that is what I'm going to stick with for Roman Bürki. Looking at number two on the squad, going to be, again, a nice, interesting one. That is Murray. I thought he was one that kind of took strides this season. Still battled a little bit of consistency as well with a horrible injury. But considering that right back position this season, I thought he was a bright spot. So I was looking towards a B- because I saw a lot of great things. I don't think he was spectacular by any stretch, but I thought he showed enough signs this season that he has the potential to take over this right back position to truly make it his own, which is why I feel comfortable with a nice little B- for that report card. Next up is Dan Axel Zagadou. Big boy Dan. He rocks number 5, true center back number. I think I'm going to put him safely in the not available section because he just didn't play enough minutes for me to really give him a true report card rating for this year. He came in time to time, looked okay, but again, the injuries just riddled him this season. I don't think it's overly fair to put something in because if you can't really give him a rating, you'd have to give him a very average, which I don't think is super fair to do. So we're going to put Dan in the not available before we roll on to Thomas Delaney. Thomas Delaney, again, a very interesting one because he's a player I thought was exceptional. I thought when he came in, he went very well with Bellingham and De Hood. It was always my preferred three in the midfield, but it was not Terzic's. He preferred Chan in that midfield, which made it very hard for me to keep backing Delaney because he just wasn't getting those important minutes towards the end of the season, even though I still thought he had a very good season. So I'm going to give him a B+. I'm going to give him a B+, which I think, in my opinion, is a little bit high, but since I just like what he did so much in that midfield, it's why I'm giving it to him. I think a B is probably fair. But like I said, a lot of those big games, a lot of those big minutes came in, and he just came on as a sub towards the end of the season because he just wasn't preferred to Emre Can, which I thought was a little bit interesting. But we'll roll on to someone who is, again, I mean, it is kind of interesting to talk about Jadon Sancho. Number 7, our guy, awful start to the season by his standards, but he's just too talented. He knew it wasn't going to keep him quiet for too long. And this team really struggled when he wasn't firing, and you saw what happened to the squad when he did get firing because Jadon Sancho turned this team completely around, was absolutely exceptional. So I'm going to give him an A. I'm going to give him not an A+, not exceptional, because like I said, this is a report card through the entirety of the season. He failed his first 2 tests, but he aced the remaining 8. I don't know, but I think it's fair. I think an A is a sensational applaud here from JJD TV because I do think that he was crucial to the success we had, meaning the Pokal, meaning the Champions League run, and of course, meaning the top 4 finish towards the end of the season. He didn't even get to play in those City games, but we know how important he is, and if it wasn't for that poor start of the season, I don't think you can argue with his lights out performance that he might have been in that A+ type category. But going on to the fan favorite, teacher's pet, I know, am I going to be biased? It's number 8, it's De Hood. And I'm going to give him an A-. I'm going to give him an A- again because out of the stretch of the season where at the beginning he was non-existent to this Dortmund squad. I, again, on this channel said he's not going to be here come the summertime. He's going to get moved on. Idiot. But it's an interesting one that he turned it around. And I really do think a big turning point in this season was that goal he scored against Sevilla. He got integrated into this squad and he completely changed it around. Lights out. Should be at the Euros. Completely unfair from Jurgi Löw. No surprises by him. And I think even though he had a rocky start of the season, he was so incredibly important to this squad, to the turning point of this squad, and the success that we got. I think an A- is a very, very alright response for Dahoud. Looking at our number 9, Erling Haaland just tipped Robert Lewandowski and got that award. We're not going to tell the majority of the award. The key point was that he beat Robert Lewandowski to a award that was voted by the fans. Was it fair? I don't know. Either way. Erling Haaland, again, at the young age that he is, the goal scorer he is, he was incredible. He was consistent, I'd say. I know a lot of times he'd go a couple goals here, a couple games dry, followed by a couple goals. That's just how he was. It was still consistent. You still knew when it mattered, this kid would come up with the goods. He scored an absurd amount of goals, and I think I'm going to put him as the first A+ student this year because without him this season, we wouldn't have accomplished what we had. The kid is just too good, and he's incredible. And like I said, with consistency, he was there, and we had those couple games out, but he played majority of the season. He was good for all of it, for every single second of it, pretty much. And I'm proud to give the first A+ here on the channel to our boy, Erling Haaland. Now we're going to roll into an interesting one. We're going to roll into our number 10, Thorgan Hazard, one that I thought was going to be a lot more valuable to the team this year. Injuries had a huge impact on that. It's hard to argue because like I said, he didn't play enough considering what he probably should have played. The injuries weren't fun. He sometimes looked a little lost out there from time to time, was forced to play through the middle on the odd time. Did do some pretty good performances as well, which is why I think I'm probably going to give him a C-. I think that's where we're going to go. No, that's harsh. I'm going to give him a C. I changed my mind. We're going to give him a C because, like I said, he was useful when he did play in certain occasions, but again, the consistency and other players stepping up, it was hard to justify him going any higher really than a C for me. Looking at our main man, looking at Marco Reus, similar to Sancho in a very poor start to the season, which led, again, to the poor start Dortmund had, to the sacking of Lucien Favre, it was Marco Reus, our skipper, my all-time legend. I think A- similar to Dahoud is what I'm going to give Marco Reus because he brought back the years to a unbelievable 2018-19 season. I saw so many similar movements on and off the ball. The leadership that he had, I probably should give him a little bit higher, but he did have a very rocky start, and I don't want to take that away, but I think it's so impressive to see where he was to where he was at the beginning of the season to where he became and really influenced and showed why he would have been at the Euros if he declared himself fit. So I think an A- is probably pretty fair for Marco Reus. Now looking at number 13, probably Mr. Consistency if you're going to ask me, that is Guerrero. You know that he's going to do it pretty much every single night on the attack. The one time you can maybe argue his game is a little bit on the defensive aspect, but that's not his game. It's not what he's usually useful for. It's to go forward, it's to interchange with Sancho, and when he's playing free throwing football like he does when he's playing alongside Jadon Sancho, he is unstoppable. The movement, the intelligence, the intricate passing with Reus, I can't talk him up enough. He is Mr. Consistent. I am going to give him an A. Just because, maybe he could have that argument with an A+, but I didn't want to give it too many, okay? I didn't even give one of the teacher's pet to Dahoud because he was acting up at the beginning of the season. But for Guerrero, I think an A is pretty fair for him. You know what you're going to get for him pretty much each and every night, and I can't say enough good words about him. Going into our number 14 is where we're starting to get our first troublemaker in the class, and that is Schultz. It's hard to give him a rating. He didn't play an awful lot. When he did make the odd mistakes, but he was relatively okay. So I think for Schultz, I'm going to give him a C-. When called upon, like I said, he was okay, but you knew he was a bit of a liability as well. He was a left wing back coming to this club, doesn't love playing the left back role, plays it a little anxiously in my opinion sometimes, but there was some positive things when it came to him, which is why I'm going to give him a C-. Hard but fair. Next up is Mats Hummels, our leader from the back, number 15. I'm going to give him an A as well. I'm going to give him an A because Mats Hummels was unbelievably sensational for this squad. He's in the elite of performances this season, and I'm just unbelievably impressed with everything that he's done for this, the partnership with Akanji, the leadership from the back. in the goals this year. I mean, coming up with goals as he's never has it so far as a center back is incredible as well. And yeah, we couldn't have gone where we are without him. And his partner in crime, number 16, Akanji, A-, just a little bit below Hummels. Again, I thought Akanji just continuously built towards the end of the season. I thought that he was a little bit shaky from time to time at the beginning, but really became a rock when we were able to get down the defense. It's hard. I never would have thought I would give Hummels and Akanji with the way that this season went, an A- and an A, but they showed when it mattered, they could get the job done. The clean sheets towards the end of the season, I think, outdone all the poor things that we did at the beginning, and especially shaping up the set pieces. I mean, again, it comes from leadership from the back, came from those two. They were able to get it done, chipping in with goals when they needed it, and got ultimately our goals done this season with a pole call and, of course, a Champions League finish. Looking at number 18 now, one that is probably going to slip into... I don't know. I'll try to give him a rating. It is Yusufa Moukoko. But again, when it came to a ton of performances, I was expecting a lot more out of him from this season, a lot more minutes. Unfortunately, wasn't get it. I was going to maybe slide him into the not available, but I'm going to give him a B-. Very good coming off the bench. I want to give him a grade because I do want to let you know my thoughts on him. And when he was able to play at the young age, the records he's broken, he's scored goals. I mean, there's nothing but good things you could say. He had a little bit of troubles here and there, and of course, just trying to get his footing in the Bundesliga. But I think from anything that you see this kid on the pitch, you know he's going to have a good career in the Bundesliga, which is why I think a B- is fair. Hopefully, they'll come back from his injury and next season go towards the A grades for JJD TV here. Next up is an interesting one. It is number 19. It's Julian Brandt, a player who from time to time during the season has come up with a little bit of magic. You know how good he is. A lot of players still have his back. I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to give him a C because, again, it's just not enough for me. It's not fair to shove him out on the wings. He doesn't usually get to play through the middle. When he does, you do see him at his best, but this season it just wasn't really good enough. He was outshadowed by a lot of other players, and it's why I think that a C is relatively fair for Brandt. Going into our number 20, Renier had his troubles again. Did not play a ton of minutes when he was on the pitch though. I didn't see enough from him. He had a good outing on his last game against Leverkusen, but I'm probably gonna give him a D+. I think it just, again, he wasn't able to come in. I saw some things on Twitter that a lot of people didn't like from Renier, but I mean, it is reports going around that he wants to stay at the club for another season, that his loan deal may not be terminated. So hopefully, if that happens, he can get under Mark Rosa's good skin and get going. But for me, again, you can put him under the not available if you really wanted to. But if you want me to rate him, I didn't see enough from him. Maybe he was playing a position, not getting the chances, but I give him a D+. Next up is number 22. That is Jude Bellingham, someone who surprised absolutely everyone as well, including myself. I'm going to put him up there right beside Dahoud at the A-. Some of you guys may be like, come on, Josh, a little bit higher. But again, he was building his way into this league. I wasn't going to say he's lights out right from the beginning. He had to build his way up. He had an incredible first appearance for the club, struggled a little bit afterwards, and then really got his footing. And then when basically that threesome started between Dahoud and Bellingham and Delaney is when this kid just took off. And again, we couldn't have got where we were without that midfield, in my opinion. And him and Dahoud, I thought, were very similar in what they really gave to this team, and I loved watching both of them, which is why I wanted to rate them both the same at an A-. Next up is the, I guess, troublemaker, sort of, in a fun way, and that's number 23, Emre Can. I say troublemaker just because, you know, it's Can. Aggressive guy, it's fun. I know this is going to be a split opinion. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comment sections of what you think he did. I'm torn. I think a B- for me is fair. I think in my opinion, when I looked at the strongest midfield, even though Can was always in there, it should have been, in my opinion, Delaney, Bellingham, Dahoud. Can got a ton of minutes, and he did show how versatile he was, stepping at right back when needed, center back, which is why you can't overlook how useful he was to the team. But again, he did so much wrong in some games when it came to poor composure, giving the ball away, just not using his head. It's tough. But so it's one of those things where he has great games and then he doesn't, but then he shows his usefulness and then he doesn't, which is why he's all over the place. I still love Emre Can. I don't want to disclude that in any way, and I do think he still had a fair season, which is why I think a B- for me is probably about right for him. And now, I guess another troublemaker, number 24, Thomas Meunier. I don't know where you guys want me to put him. I'm not going to put him in the Fs because I don't think that's fair to any player. But he's going to probably get a D+ for me. I think very similar to Schultz, players that were kind of expected to come in and do something, didn't really quite make it. He played a ton of minutes this season, arguably shouldn't have. I think Murray showed a lot more composure than he did, a lot more usefulness when it came in the final balls of the season. Meunier always got himself at the beginning of the season in positions to whip in crosses that did nothing with it. He had the odd good game here and there. The Mainz game, in my opinion, was his first real good game for the club. I'm hoping he'll be able to have a bounce back season next season, because I truly believe he will be our starting right back come August, come preseason, but only time will tell. It wasn't a good season. I don't think anyone's going to tell you that it was, including Meunier, but it's not a complete fail in my opinion, which is why I think a D+ is where I'm going to put him. Next up is going to be our boy Lucas Piszczek. Very interesting one. Number 26, legend number here at Dortmund. I don't even know how to rate him because, I mean, he didn't play a ton, but when he played towards the end of the season, he was spectacular every step of the way. Really, in my opinion, his emotional presence there was a reason that we really got that winning streak towards the end of the season. And even with the few amount of games and minutes he had, I'm giving him a B+. You have to. I mean, arguably I should go emotional. I'm trying to make it as realistic as I can. I mean, considering the amount of minutes he played, but for what he did do with that minutes, he deserves a B+, if not into the A's. But just, I've been trying to make it fair throughout. He didn't have that much minutes, but when he did, like I said, play, he completely changed that back four, and it just shows why he was such a world-class defender, in my opinion. Next up is going to be number 27, Stefan Tigges, and it's going to be another tricky one, and I'll probably put this player in the not available just because I didn't see enough minutes from him. He didn't really play enough to give him a fair rating. I do see some potential there. And the next player, again, number 28, Axel Witsel, will be joining him in the not available due to the injury. I mean, it's not, again, similar to Zagadou, not super fair to be able to rate him. We know what with Witzel's like. We know what he would have brought to the season, but you didn't see enough of it to be able to give him a fair shake. And he'll be joined once again by another club legend, number 29, Marcel Schmelzer. And it's, again, he did not play. There's no real reason for me to give an opinion on him. You know that he's a club legend. We know that he'll always be loved, but he'll be going in the not available one because it's just hard to do. But we can get on number 30, Felix Passlack. We can't give him a rating. We did see him not a ton throughout the season, but we saw him, I think, a fair shake because he was always in, always out. I mean, from what I saw, he had the odd good game. The goal obviously comes to mind, but I'd say probably a very similar rating to Meunier and Schultz with the D+. Just not quite at that level to be able to break in and make a real impact on this Dortmund squad. Next up is number 32, Gio Reyna. Very interesting player as well, similar to Brandt, but I think a little bit higher in my opinion. Gio had some spectacular performances last year, some very good ones this year as well, but the man was shoved out on the wings. The reason I'm putting him a little bit higher than Brandt is because he really impressed me from what he did on the wings. He clearly doesn't want to play there, clearly isn't his best position, but made do with it and had come up with some big moments throughout the season and showed the potential that we know Gio's got. I'm going to give him a B-. Again, a little bit higher than Brandt, not because he hasn't been spectacular this season, and again, no one can argue that he was, but he was useful, and especially with the lack of depth we had in the wings and being able to make that work, similar to Chan making pretty much the entire back six, maybe even keeper position work for him, is why I think a B- is probably pretty fair for Gio. Next up is a backup keeper who I didn't expect to play, number 35, Marwan Hitz. Again, I thought he was pretty average. I'm going to give him probably a C. Probably a C, I think, is pretty fair. I don't think he was, again, spectacular coming in, but I thought he did a job. Did an alright job. There was goals that he led in that people seem to forget that weren't always the best goal, but when it mattered, he came up. I don't think he did much better than Berkey. I don't think he did any worse than Berkey, and I think the keepers were pretty similar in the way that they were this season. That is just straight up average. Next up is one that I'm very excited and is the last player I'm going to rank on the list, because any of the other young lads that came up, I would have just put them in not available. I did mention a couple of them because it was some of the regulars like Tigges, for example. Even Passlack can fall into that. But this will be the last player that we are going to rank. It is number 36, Ansgar Knauf, and is a player that I'm super impressed from what I saw. A young kid coming up. The goal against Stuttgart was a way to really put your hearts into it, because again, looking at turning points, if we didn't get those 3 points that game, I think it was starting to slip and the belief would have fell out. But Knauf came up with a bit of magic, showed what he's capable of, showed his pace, came up in some of the big games like City. I'm going to give him a B. I'm going to give him a B because Again, he didn't play a ton of minutes when it comes to the minutes game, but a lot of promise coming from him and some big performances in some big games, including a decisive goal, in my opinion, in that Stuttgart game. But I'm sure a lot of you guys will disagree with what I had to say. I'm sure some of you guys will agree with what I have to say, but this was the episode I was very looking forward to doing. I hope you guys do enjoy it. Feel free to comment any player you want. If you agreed with what I have, feel free to go through the entire list of players and give them a grading. I'm excited to read the comments. I'm excited to communicate back and forth to see what you saw this season compared to what I saw. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope if you guys are new around here, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. We are very close, maybe already at 3K at this point. I don't know, but hopefully we get it very, very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.